This interview takes place in 1982 between a talk show host, Dr. Levenkron, a psychotherapist, and one of his patients, Karen Carpenter.
Welcome to the Rosie Joy Show. Today I'm having two very special guests, Dr. Levenkron and one of his current patients, Karen Carpenter.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Rosie, for having us.
Dr. Levenkron, why did you choose to bring Karen with you today as opposed to any other patient or coming by yourself?
Well, I felt that it was important to get both sides of the story, the therapist and the patients. Karen was my first anorexic patient that I treated. In 1970, she came into my office, and at first I had no idea what to do.
Even though you had no idea, you sure seem confident in all you do.
Well, the more confident I feel, the better my patients will feel about the situation.
Now, Karen, would you like to give a little bit of background of yourself?
Well, I was born in 1950 in the beautiful city of New Haven, Connecticut. I moved out of my parents' house only a few years back when I was 26. My anorexia nervosa has completely taken over my life, but at least I have my brother and my amazing therapist to support me. I'm in a band with my brother that has helped me greatly because I can express my feelings through music. Although I'm not recovered from my anorexia, I continue to see Dr. Levenkron on a weekly basis, so hopefully one day I can recover. With him, the one helping me, I am dedicated to recovery.
So, Dr. Levenkron, tell us about your early life before you got into psychotherapy.
Well, it's a pretty common story. I grew up in New York City with my family. I went to school in Queens College for my bachelor degree. After that, I went to Brooklyn College for my master's degree. I graduated in 1969. My first job was a social studies teacher at secondary schools in New York City, and soon after, I became a guidance counselor at the same school.
Do you think the job as a guidance counselor was a big step into your psychotherapist career? Because, a guidance counselor and a psychotherapist both have a similar job of helping people, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's what made me realize I could help people, and that it was something I loved to do. I had a part-time job in 1972 to 1974 at Montefiore Hospital and Medical Center, which also made me realize the sick people I could help. I had an urge to help people when I saw girls with these disorders.
That's amazing. Tell me more about your life as an adult.
I got married in 1963 to my wife Abby Rosen, who is also a therapist. I have two daughters, Rachel and Gabrielle. I have a small dog I bring to work sometimes because some of my patients like dogs.
What about awards? Have you won anything big?
Yes, a few.
Don't be silly, you won plenty of awards. Your book, The Best Little Girl in the World, won Best Book for Young Adults by the American Library Association. In 1978 and 1971, you won the annual award for National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders. And in 1981, you won an award for bringing anorexia nervosa to public attention.
I don't mean to brag, but yes, I was one of the first people to actually bring the problem young girls have with anorexia nervosa to public attention. When I saw the unnoticed problem, I felt obligated to help. That's one of the reasons I wrote my book. I had to get the problem out.
And since the publication of his first book, he has been invited to speak at lectures and appeared on hundreds of TV shows, this being one of them. People realized that he had the information on the topic that a lot of people didn't understand. Most people just think it's a problem and girls have to stop. But Dr. Levenkron took the problem into his own hands and looked into a girl's mind to see what they're actually thinking. It's amazing what he can do.
Now tell me, what kind of therapy do you specialize in?
I mostly deal with girls with self-harm problems, and a lot of girls diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, which you can probably tell because that is what most of my books are about. When I started out, I didn't expect to specialize in that, but over time, that's what it came to. And I am perfectly happy because I love figuring out what each girl is thinking. I've learned that the process to cure each girl is different for each girl.
I had severe anorexia as a child, and although I'm improving, seeing my therapist is one of the things that is still keeping me alive.
Yes, after years of treating patients and more to go, I've had some experience on what I need to do to get girls to recover. I treat people with psychotherapy for more than 30 hours a week. It's a lot of work, but I really do enjoy my job.
Now tell me, what are the names of the books you've written?
The titles are Stolen Tomorrow, Anatomy of Anorexia, Cutting, The Luckiest Girl in the World, Kessa, The Best Little Girl in the World, Treating and Overcoming Anorexia, and Obsessive Compulsive Disorder.
Don't forget that each book has been translated into 9 different languages. 2 of his fiction books, The Best Little Girl in the World and The Luckiest Little Girl in the World, were later made into movies. 5 of the books are nonfiction. The books get really, really deep into each girl's feelings, and I believe that from each book you can learn a lot about a person's problems. His writing is phenomenal for someone who was not set out to write books.
All my books are based on real-life experiences that I have had with my patients, Karen being one of them. The luckiest girl in the world and the best little girl in the world's characters are not patients I have actually had, but they resemble the stories of many.
Yes, from reading the book, The Best Little Girl in the World, and its sequel, Kessa, I can tell that the story of Kessa resembles mine and many other girls I knew with the problem of anorexia nervosa. Each book has pieces of different girls' stories. The way he writes makes each girl's problem seem normal.
And where do you work now?
My current office is on East 79th Street, Office 16. I've grown up in the city and I live there today.
And this is in New York City?
Yes, New York, New York.
For your therapy?
Well, usually a doctor will recommend me if they have a patient with a problem, but you can send in a submission from my website, Levenkron.com.
How did you find him, Karen?
Well, my mom tried various doctors and therapists. I was a stubborn girl. Nobody could cure me. Finally, a doctor had an idea. He had faith that Dr. Levenkron could find a way to cure my anorexia. Clearly, I'm not recovered, and it will take a very long time if I can commit to recovery. I'm sure that one day I will, though.
Did you have any other employees in your office?
Well, actually, my wife was my coworker.
Did that work well for the two of you?
Yes, and it was an amazing experience for both of us.
Were your books written when you first started psychotherapy?
No, before every book, I would work and study a patient for years before actually writing a book on them. All my patients inspire me to keep writing and to continue helping people. My goal in life is to simply inform people about the dangers of anorexia nervosa. I didn't originally plan on writing books, but I needed a way to inform the public. Also, my patients inspired me to write stories.
Karen, what did you find exceptional about Dr. Levenkron's therapy?
Unlike other doctors and therapists, he didn't demand that I stop immediately. Instead, he looked into what I was thinking and tried to change what is making me do this. But he does it over time instead of rushing me like everyone else. He even shows that in his books, The Luckiest Girl in the World. He tells the main character that whatever she's doing is okay for now. Anorexia is a problem in my mind, because no matter how thin I am, I feel that I am always overweight. I'm not going to stop the way I feel because someone is telling me to. Dr. Levenkron recognized this and didn't force me to stop. His method is really helping.
That's a unique way of dealing with your patients. Why do you do that, Dr. Levenkron?
Well, I feel like most adults in teenagers' lives force them to do everything that they say. In order to form a trusting relationship, the patient has to feel completely comfortable with me and know that they can tell me the truth no matter what the circumstance.
He's right. It may seem easier to recover than it is. Each therapist told me to stop what I was doing immediately. None of them realized that I was just going to get worse and worse. I didn't care what anyone said until they actually took time to learn my story. This is why Dr. Levenkron was such a big help.
I noticed the same pattern in all girls. You can't make them angry or nervous, or make them feel like they need to trust you immediately. Whatever they are doing is okay until we can work together to fix their situation.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for taking the time to come here today. I know that you have a very busy life, being asked to speak at so many different events.
It was a pleasure to be here today with Dr. Levenkron. He's one of my favorite people on earth because without him I might not even be here to speak today.
Yes, what a great opportunity to inform the public.
And this concludes our Rosie Joy Talk Show for the day. Thanks for watching.
Dr. Levenkron is still working in his New York City office today. Karen dies a year after the interview in 1983 from heart failure. Doctors still rush patients to Dr. Levenkron today when they are in need of psychotherapy. He has currently treated more than 37 years worth of patients and works 30 hours a week. Out of the over more than 300 patients he has treated, about 90% recover. He has had over 50,000 hours of individual psychotherapy.
The end!